Network Communications at 909-795-9559. Cybertime Network Communications in Calamasa.
And advice to brighten your day. Grab your wife and kids and hang on for the ride of your life.
It's Donald Carpenter with the Family Man's Faith and Finance Show. Welcome, welcome. I am so glad you're here with me today. Oh, we've got a lot to talk about today. Happy Easter. Happy Easter, man. We got 55 days of Easter, which means 5 more weeks of celebrating the resurrection of the Lord. People are like, isn't that 3 weeks ago? No, man. The Easter season used to be called Eastertide. Goes on for 55 days. We got 5 more weeks. Can't wait. That's awesome. So we got a lot to talk about that. We're going to talk about some financial planning. We're going to talk about the Shroud of Turin. There's some news out about the Shroud. We're going to talk about how our culture is destroying boys. I got a little piece from Matt Walsh. And how men need to man up and stop it. You know, they can do it if they want to. Dads, fathers, men. And unless you're really at the pursuit of pleasure at any cost, which seems to be the case now that we're fully entrenched in the sexual revolution, trying to kill ourselves. I want to talk a little bit about feminists and how they crave equality, but only of the worst parts of men. And let's see, what else? And, I want to talk about, you know what? I keep telling you guys you got to get my book. But I just figured something out. I'm going to give it to you for free. And yeah, absolutely free. So grab yourself right now, grab a pen and paper, and you're going to write down how to get my book for free. And if you want to buy it, that's fine. It's $11 in softback, $20 in hardback. But if you want it for free, then write this down. My phone number, 310-777-6777. Give me a call. And we're going to schedule you for something else that's free, which is going to be a financial planning session. And we're going to sit down and see if financial planning is right for you. And so that's 2 free things, right? You're going to get free stuff on top of free stuff. You get a free financial planning session and my book. So call me, 310-777-6777, and you will get my book for free at that meeting. So, hey, I've got some pretty good reviews from that book, too. Kirkus review said, an enthusiastic guide to financial planning focuses on the highly masculine. And then this other commentator, he said, I love this book. I highly recommend it. It's a fascinating book. It's one of the few books written in this genre that has some truly fresh new perspectives and good ideas. That's from Dick Lyles, and he's got his own show called Business, Career, and Work. And then you all know Mother Love. Well, she said, this little book is awesome. So powerful. Donald has written this book for anyone looking to build and sustain generational wealth throughout your legacy. And that's what she said. So if you want this book for free, call me, 310-777-6777. I'll see that you get a copy. Hey, remember last week we were talking about the Divine Mercy? Hey, did you get that clip? Anyway.
I have the clip, Donald.
Awesome. That's my.
You said at 2:48, correct?
Yeah, it started at 2:40. That's great.
Started at 2:48? Yeah. You want it now?
Yeah, that'd be good.
Well, why don't you tell me this before the show instead of like raking on me?
Sorry, man. Let me.
This guy berates me all the time before you don't even understand.
Let me set this up again.
Okay, set it up.
All right, so you got
to communicate with.
I got to have this Divine Mercy on my producer.
Oh my God! By the way, my name's Gary Garver.
That's right, my producer Gary Garver. So anyway. Greatest producer in the world, but I'm a newbie, man. So what can I say?
I'm taking next week off, just to let you know. It's my birthday.
It's okay. Happy birthday, Gary.
Whatever.
So anyway, now.
Hold on.
Wait a minute. Don't play it yet. I'll just tell you when.
Let me get to it.
Okay, good. So we were talking last week about the Divine Mercy and how because the 20th century was the bloodiest, most human-killing century in human history, that God sent this sweet little nun who was saying her prayers, a message of his divine mercy and wanted her to spread it throughout the world. And some really awesome and talented people have gotten together and made a song out of the chaplet. And I told you that if we had time, we'd play it on this show. And so I want you to hear this. It's beautiful.
Eternal Father, I offer you the body atonement for our sins and those of the whole world, for the sake of his sorrowful passion. Have mercy on us and on the whole world, for the sake of his sorrowful passion. Have mercy on us and on the whole world.
Okay, that is the Chaplet of the Divine Mercy in song. Oh, it gives me chills every time I hear it. Isn't that beautiful? Man, that's fantastic. Anyway, you can go to the website, divinemercyinsong.com, and get your copy of that if you want it. Or you can do like I do and go to YouTube and listen to it for free. It's just beautiful. And so that was given to us by the Lord through a beautiful little nun, Saint Faustina Kowalska, who said that we should pray this chaplet in the battle against the difficulties of the world that lacks mercy in this 20th and 21st centuries. And so I think that's pretty good. So I want to talk a little bit about the Shroud of Turin. We're going to switch gears real quick. And so the Shroud of Turin is supposed to be the burial cloth of Jesus after his crucifixion. And there's an image of a man on the shroud, and it's been analyzed over and over and over. So several different scientific means. Recently, a team using NASA's 3D imagery recreated a model of the face and body using only the image. And what's interesting is that if it's really the image of Jesus on the shroud, then this will be the first statue of Jesus as he really looked some 2,000 years ago. This statue is a three-dimensional representation in actual size of the man of the shroud, created following a precise measurements taken from the cloth in which the body of Christ was wrapped after the crucifixion, explains Giulio Fanti. He's the teacher of mechanical and thermal measurements at the University of Padua. And his life's work has been to study the shroud and every scientific measurement he could take. Based on his measurements, the professor has created a carbon copy in 3D, which he claims allows him to affirm that these are the true features of the crucified Christ. Therefore, we have what we finally have to see the precise image of what Jesus looked like on this earth. From now on, he may no longer be depicted without taking this work into account, says the professor. And let's see, the professor was granted exclusive coverage of his work. And according to our studies, he says, Jesus was a man of extraordinary beauty, long-limbed but very robust. He was about 5'11", whereas the average height during his time was around 5'5", and he had a regal and majestic expression. I think it's amazing. We'll talk a little bit more about that in the next segment. But it's possibly the first look of what Jesus really looked like. I don't know about you, but the shroud itself has been subject of intense scrutiny over the years, and some of the faithful claim that it's absolutely real, and some in the scientific community have said it's man-made, and the debate goes on. And I have 7 little categories by which it's been examined scientifically. And I'm not sure it's ever going to really prove, we're going to ever be able to prove who the man of the shroud is. But if it inspires faith, then it's probably a pretty good thing. Yep. So we'll be back and we'll talk about the shroud. And hey, if you want to get a free copy of my book, 310-777-6777, we'll be back in a minute.
NBC Talk Radio, 1050 a.m.
Donald Carpenter here. I'm the host of the Family Man's Faith and Finance Show Mondays at 3 o'clock. You know the number one reason married couples fight? Money. The number one lesson people wish they'd learned in school? Money. Listen, I've got over 20 years of experience in asset management and financial planning. Together, we can make the most of the money you make. We can take care of you and your family's finances. We can teach you how to build and strengthen a family financial fortress that can help protect you for years to come. We'll help you do it. Give me a call, 310-777-6777, and we'll help you manage these volatile markets and make better choices for your family's financial future. Call me, 310-777-6777, or shoot me an email, donald@f3assetmanagement.com. And don't forget to catch the Family Man's Faith and Finance Show Mondays at 3 o'clock on KCAA Radio.
Some combinations were just meant to go together. Chips and salsa, refrigerator and freezer, the internet, and those cute little cat videos. At State Farm, there's another combination meant to go together, home and auto, as in combining your home and auto insurance with one agent, which leads to another combination, saving dollars and cents. Your State Farm agent, the DeSalvo Insurance Agency, is here to help life go right. Combine home and auto and see how much you can save. For more information, call the DeSalvo Insurance Agency at 310-553-0241 in Beverly Hills, or find him on the web at BillDeSalvo.com. That's BILLDISALVO.com.
Hi, this is Donald Carpenter. You know, I've written a pretty interesting book. It's called The Family Man's Stock Market Volatility Survival Guide, How to Defend Your Family in Any Economy. To pick up a copy of The Family Man's Stock Market Volatility Survival Guide, go to Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, or the website FamilyManSMBSG.com. Dr. Tatsuo Hirano asks, why suffer and ignore your pain and illness? Stop it before it gets out of control. Acupuncture is like fresh air, revitalizing your body and mind. Dr. Tatsuo Hirano, renowned acupuncturist to the stars and world-class performing artists, will help you get back to optimum health. To explore the healing arts of Oriental medicine, call Dr. Hirano at 818-244-2287. The first 20 callers will receive 10% off their first visit. Just say Donald Carpenter sent you.
Berndorf Law Offices, located in Los Angeles, is an employment, counseling, and litigation boutique law firm for California employers and executives. Employment laws change almost daily, and penalties for noncompliance are substantial. If you're an employer in Southern California and need assistance navigating the waters of employee relations, legal aspects of human resources management, or need defense against a lawsuit, our lawyers can help. Find us on the web at berndorflaw.com. That's BIRNDORFLAW.com. Or on Twitter at Law4CA Employers.
Donald Carpenter with the Family Man's Faith and Finance Show. We're back. We were talking a little bit about the Shroud of Turin. You know, it's interesting. Man, people have been going back and forth with that for centuries. Is it real? Is it fake? What is it? And in 1898, when Segundo Pia took the first photographs of the shroud, is when he was developing the negatives when he noticed that there was a positive image of a human face on it. And then he was like, wait a second, this is like a photographic negative. How does that work? And then there was another guy, Professor Nicholas Allen of South Africa. He proposed that the materials and knowledge that produced the photograph existed in the Middle Ages. And so that people have been debating back and forth for centuries. And in the 1980s, the shroud had undergone its first carbon-14 dating, and it was dated to the 13th century. And then they redid the carbon-14 dating and said, well, no, it's dated to the 1st century. What they said happened in the first dating was that the part that they analyzed had been tainted by a fire back in the Middle Ages. So the shroud's been around a long time, and they've done a lot of different kind of testing on it. So the people at the University of Padua in 1913 did a test where they did a infrared light spectroscopy on it, and they found out from their testing the intensity of wavelengths and from the measurements that the date could be calculated to 300 BC to 400 AD. And then there's a bunch of other things that they've done to test it. So the image, it's not a stain and it's not painted. As a matter of fact, it can pick up a 3D image, which a painting can't do. And it's not burned into place, which people have speculated. And they don't know what the technology is that created the image itself. So it's still a controversy. And Dr. Paolo Di Lorazzo said that he's tried to replicate the image for 5 years and only got close using ultraviolet light, but he can't get close to making the image at all because he says he doesn't have ultraviolet light powerful enough to make an image like that. So they've tested, like I said before, the 3D capabilities of the image, and it can be read by 3D technology, which is not possible for painted on images. Also, there's evidence of the shroud of a crucifixion. The wounds of the man are all consistent with the wounds from a Roman crucifixion, including a scourging, the crown of thorns, no broken bones, and a wound to the side. Also, the flesh on the palm seems to have been pierced, and on the feet. So this is really interesting stuff. They've tested the pollen and the dust on the shroud, and it found that it came from the area of Jerusalem and from Turkey and other places the shroud is supposed to have resided. That's where the pollen comes from. The dust comes from the area of the image on the knee of the knees, where they've done the dust that's on the knee part and the feet, and that's from around the place of Jerusalem. They've looked at the evidence of Jewish burial customs, and the shroud and its details are perfectly consistent with first century Jewish burial rites. And so they've found microscopic traces of flowers on the shroud, and those were the same flowers that were used in burial rites and grew locally in the Palestinian area. They have examined the blood on the image, and the bloodstains on the shroud are real, and their texture and color indicates severe distress, if not torture. It's crazy what's on the shroud. And they've also analyzed the type of cloth. The cloth is consistent with fabrics from the first century Israel, not the ones that were made in medieval Europe. So the forger, if there was one, would have had to not only forge the image, but he would have had to have a detailed knowledge of linen weavings from the first century, and then not only have the details, but be able to reproduce it and age it convincingly. So there's a lot about the shroud that's like, might be the burial shroud of Jesus. So what does it prove? I don't think it proves much. Is it the burial shroud of Jesus? That's a good question. But the answer is really not that important unless, in my opinion, it leads someone to faith. And if it does that, then, in my opinion, it is worth all the investigation. And but I think it would be remarkable if we got a 3D image of what Jesus actually looked like. That's fantastic. Okay, it's going to switch a little gears here. We're going to talk about some bad things in our culture. Yep. Our culture is really bad for boys, little boys. It's bad for girls too, but it's bad for everyone, actually. And I'm reading from pieces of a little article from Matt Walsh, and he says, but I think we fail to recognize and appreciate the unique struggles that boys face. Particularly, we fail to recognize it because we're too busy worrying about the patriarchy's persecution of women. Partly, we fail to recognize it because collectively we just don't care that much about boys. Partly, we fail to recognize it because men are not as likely to talk about their own plight, and partly, a man will not talk about it because everyone, even his fellow men, will only laugh at him and downplay the problem. There are many factors at play, and they all lead to a pretty dire situation. Men are told about their privilege, but if you look at things honestly, you will not see much evidence of this privilege. On the contrary, you'll see several profound disadvantages suffered by men in general and boys in particular. Here, I think, are the biggest four. One, our culture preys relentlessly on a boy's weaknesses. Let's imagine a world of the average 13-year-old boy. He has long since been exposed to hardcore pornography and probably watches it regularly. Then puberty hits. His hormones are going haywire. His brain is hardwiring itself to focus obsessively on sex. He cannot really help it. He is now fertile. He even has more than the girls of his age. He's more fertile than they are. And He feels the biological impulse to go out and find a sexual partner, though he does not understand this urge, and his conception of human sexuality has been perverted and confused by the porn habit he's developed in the 6th grade. The boy cannot escape sex. It's all over his computer. It's all over his phone. It's all over social media. It's all over TV. It's all over the music he listens to. He goes to school and the female classmates are dressed like strippers. He goes anywhere and that's how women are dressed. It seems that everyone is doing everything they can to make a degenerate and a creep out of him, even as they demand that he control himself. We ask for self-discipline and self-control from the boy while providing him no tools to develop them. Rather than tools, we give him temptation, non-stop temptation. Everywhere he goes, all day, every day, right at the moment when his brain is least capable of overcoming it. And even if the boy possesses the almost superhuman moral fortitude required to pursue chastity and purity in the midst of a sex-choked fog that engulfs him, he will only be met with mockery and discouragement from our society. The very people who demand that he respect women and control himself will heap scorn on him if he tries to do exactly that. Again, the boy will need to call upon his superhuman courage to ignore the jeers just as he rejects the temptations, so that he can walk the path of virtue on his own with no help from anyone. Point number 2 is that we have a catastrophic lack of male role models. 17 million kids live in homes without fathers. In the African American community, about 70 to 80% are fatherless. Almost all kids have mothers. They have mostly female teachers. They're even more likely to have grandmothers than grandfathers because men die significantly earlier. A girl will have no shortage of female role models. In fact, that's a fact which is worth celebrating. It's almost a profound advantage that many boys with their privilege will not enjoy. Even the boys who have dads may not have male role models because very often, despite the father's physical presence, the mother is still the spiritual leader of the household. And there are plenty of fathers who stick around but refuse to take their part in the child's moral formation. Their warm bodies taking up space, perhaps bringing home a paycheck, but they neither lead their families nor provide worthwhile examples to their sons. Point 3 is that the education system is designed for girls. There's a reason why girls outperform boys in schools. It's not that they're smarter on average, but they have an easier time because the classroom is set up to reward calm and organized demeanor that's more natural to them. Boys are more rambunctious. They have more physical energy. They are able to sit still, and they are less able to focus attentively on the drill tasks for a prolonged period of time. The typical classroom environment is torture for a boy. It penalizes him for being himself. It penalizes him for being a boy. And in fact, finally, the masculinity is denigrated. We think we've already done enough for these boys. We've made our point. We shove sex in their face, deprive them of role models, and force them to an educational system that treats their personality as a disease. But we're not satisfied. Finally, we have surrendered. If they've surrendered that gauntlet, we attempt to bury them in self-loathing. Femininity is attacked in our culture as well, but not nearly so explicitly or directly. Nobody ever calls femininity toxic or fragile. Nobody talks about female privilege, even though, as I've demonstrated, females enjoy many unique privileges. Nobody would label all women dangerous and potential monsters to be feared. These are the social denigration reserved only for boys and their developing manhood. This wouldn't be so bad if it weren't for the fact that boys are emerging from childhood already broken. They are in no condition to endure the anti-male onslaught, so they will stay broken. And we will not acknowledge that they're broken. We will not face the fact that we are the ones who broke them. So my next segment, I'm going to talk about how we can solve this problem, because I'm not just going to leave you with a problem. Yep, that's pretty dire situation for boys, and we're going to fix it today on the Family Man's Faith and Finance Show. Donald Carpenter, be right back.
KCAA Talk Radio, 1050 AM.
Donald Carpenter here. I'm the host of the Family Man's Faith and Finance Show Mondays at 3 o'clock. You know the number one reason married couples fight? Money. The number one lesson people wish they'd learned in school? Money. Listen, I've got over 20 years of experience in asset management and financial planning. Together, we can make the most of the money you make. We can take care of you and your family's finances. We can teach you how to build and strengthen a family financial fortress that can help protect you for years to come. We'll help you do it. Give me a call, 310-777-6777, and we'll help you manage these volatile markets and make better choices for your family's financial future. Call me, 310-777-6777, or shoot me an email, donald@f3assetmanagement.com. And don't forget to catch the Family Man's Faith and Finance Show Mondays at 3 o'clock on KCAA Radio.
Some combinations were just meant to go together. Chips and salsa, refrigerator and freezer, the internet, and those cute little cat videos. At State Farm, there's another combination meant to go together, home and auto, as in combining your home and auto insurance with one agent, which leads to another combination, saving dollars and cents. Your State Farm agent, the DeSalvo Insurance Agency, is here to help life go right. Combine home and auto and see how much you can save. For more information, call the DeSalvo Insurance Agency at 310-553-0241 in Beverly Hills, or find him on the web at BillDeSalvo.com. That's BILLDISALVO.com.
Hi, this is Donald Carpenter. You know, I've written a pretty interesting book. It's called The Family Man's Stock Market Volatility Survival Guide, How to Defend Your Family in Any Economy. To pick up a copy of The Family Man's Stock Market Volatility Survival Guide, go to Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, or the website FamilyManSMVSG.com.
Berndorf Law Offices, located in Los Angeles, is an employment, counseling, and litigation boutique law firm for California employers and executives. Employment laws change almost daily, and penalties for noncompliance are substantial. If you're an employer in Southern California and need assistance navigating the waters of employee relations, legal aspects of human resources management, or need defense against a lawsuit, our lawyers can help. Find us on the web at berndorflaw.com. That's BIRNDORFLAW.com. Or on Twitter at Law4CA Employers.
Dr. Tatsuo Hirano asks, why suffer and ignore your pain and illness? Stop it before it gets out of control. Acupuncture is like fresh air, revitalizing your body and mind. Dr. Tatsuo Hirano, renowned acupuncturist to the stars and world-class performing artists, will help you get back to optimum health. To explore the healing arts of Oriental medicine, call Dr. Hirano at 818-244-2287. The first 20 callers will receive 10% off their first visit. Just say Donald Carpenter sent you. Donald Carpenter with the Family Man's Faith and Finance Show. And I'm going to give you the answer to these problems of what's happening to boys in this culture in a second. But I want to give you that free book offer. So you give me a call, 310-777-6777. I will give you a free copy of the Family Man Stock Market Volatility Survival Guide. And it's gotten some great reviews. Clients read it and say, why do we need you? We got the book. No, they never say that. But they read it and they use it as a compliment to the work that we're doing together. And it'll teach you a lot of stuff that, I've got a guy that just read, a young guy too. He's under 30 years old. He just finished it and he put on a great review on Great Reads. And it really helped him out in his financial planning efforts. So I will give you a free copy of the book. We'll sit down to a free financial planning session. I'll give you one of those for free. So you get two free things, the book and to sit down with me and talk about financial planning. And we'll give you a free session. And if it's right for you, you'll become a client. And if not, you walk away with a free book and a handshake and say, man, God bless you and good luck. So here we go. How do we stop this disaster that's going on in the lives of boys? One, we need to end this phony war that we're told we're having within the species between men and women. It's baloney. There's no war going on between men and women. They're complementary. They are formed for unity. They're the way we propagate the species. It seems so obvious, it's ridiculous, but that's the one thing. Just stop the nonsense that there's a war between men and women, because it's total nonsense. Newsflash, there's no war between the sexes. There has been but there has been an extraordinary emphasis on the self, to the point of self-obsession and self-gratification, to the destruction of all our protective institutions like the family, home, and community. If we're ever to solve the ills of society, we might begin reclaiming and defending the intrinsic unity of the human species, rather than the hate-filled lie that men and women are somehow opposed to one another. And from that natural evolution of proliferation of the species, get it, and complementarity and unity, we can evolve methods for kinship, family, and community. But I think it's going to start with men. And so guess what? Let's have a Bible study, okay? Let's get out your Bible, turn to 1 Samuel 17. And let me set up the scene for you. This is the story of David. Young David. He was a young shepherd. And he was just a guy, he was the youngest of Jesse's sons. He was thrown out into the field. His brothers were going off to war, and they said, you go take care of the sheep. And he's like, okay, I'll go take care of the sheep. And so one day, the Israelites were fighting the Philistines. And it was a campaign that was waging on for about a month. And Jesse was a little bit worried about his older son, so he sends David to go check on him. He says, don't worry about the sheep, go check on your brother. So he sends him some food, and he gets over there to the valley of Elah. And up on one hill are the Philistines, and up on the other hill are the Israelites. And Goliath, this giant guy, he's been a warrior since he was a kid. He comes down the hill and he's taunting the Israelites for 40 days, for an entire month. He's like, oh, nanny, 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 you can't hurt us. I don't know what taunts he was using, but I'm sure they were worse than that. And he's taunting them day after day. You guys are so puny and small, insignificant. So finally David shows up, right? And he's listening to all this. He says, what's going on? And they said, well, there's a reward out for whoever slays Goliath. Well, how come nobody's gone and done it? And they hadn't. And so David walks up to Saul and he says, let no one lose heart on account of this Philistine. Your servant will go and fight him. So David's volunteering. You imagine that? This kid gets there and he goes, hey, don't worry. I just got here. I showed up. I will take care of everything. Saul replies, you are not able to go out against this Philistine and fight him. You are only a young man, and he has been a warrior from his youth. But David says to Saul in verse 34, your servant has been keeping his father's sheep. When a lion and a bear came and carried off a sheep from the flock, I went after it. I struck it, and I rescued the sheep from its mouth. When it turned on me, I seized it by the hair, struck it, and killed it. Your servant David has killed both the lion and the bear. This uncircumcised Philistine will be like one of them, because he has defiled the armies of the living God. Your servant, yes, and then so Saul was like, oh. And David continues, he goes on and says, the Lord who rescued me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear will rescue me from the hands of this Philistine. And I guess that was a pretty compelling speech, because Saul said, okay, go ahead, the Lord be with you. None of the men.
Excuse me, is that what Saul actually sounded like?
I think it did.
Okay, do whatever you do. Hey, yo. I didn't know he was Italian.
I think he was a little bit nervous.
Okay, just asking.
Okay.
Sorry to throw your vibe off.
You did, man. So, yeah, it was just amazing, because nobody wanted to do it. And then he sends out this kid, right? But here's the thing, and these are the main points that I wanted to talk about, is that David did some very important and special things that we can emulate. One, he took responsibility. He took responsibility for God, he took responsibility for his family, and he took responsibility for his community. Two, he developed competence. When he was over there being a shepherd, he wasn't just laying around crying about the fact that he couldn't come over and fight with his brothers. He was taking care of the sheep. He was doing an important job, according to him. He was blooming right where he was planted, in other words. And what did he do? He developed his skills. He developed his skills with a sling. He developed his skills with a sword. And he developed his strength because, it's going to take some pretty amazing strength to be able to defeat both a lion and a bear. And he developed integrity. He became a man who does what he said he's going to do. And he also became something that we need to do in this culture right now as men. He became a man of defiance. He stood up. He was willing to stand up loudly with God against the enemies of God and not shrink. He wouldn't shrink from his responsibility. He wasn't afraid of ridicule and mockery. He wasn't going to abandon the unity with women and children and his brothers and the community. And he was going to man up and take responsibility, hold on to integrity, and stand against the torrent of Goliath in defiance. And he was a youth when he did it. And that's how we do it, man. That's how we do it. We take the good examples of David. We stand against just an outrageous overflow of evil coming to us from this world, but you got to stand up against it. And you can't be running off thinking, it's, grass is greener on the other side, because it's not. In the words of Saint Mother Teresa of Calcutta, stay where you are. Find your own Calcutta. Find the sick, the suffering, the lonely right where you are, in your own homes and in your own families, in your workplaces and in your schools. If you can find Calcutta all over the world, if you have the eyes to see everywhere, wherever you go, you will find people who are unwanted, unloved, uncared for, just rejected by society, completely forgotten, completely left alone. Bloom where you are planted. And some of the people that are unwanted and rejected might be your own family that you've turned your back on. And you might have to turn around and man up and take responsibility, just like David did, step at a time, trial at a time, struggle at a time, and be a man that over time derives strength and grace from God to get that job done of what? Protecting your wife, your kids, building community, living a life of sacrifice, living for unity. This whole idea that there's some war between men and women is nonsense. And it arises because what do the people that are claiming this war exists want? They want equality in debauchery. They want equality in greed. They want equality in power. They want equality for the pursuit of stuff. Every single thing that you can be addicted to is the kind of equality that people are seeking. And it's nonsense. You've got to learn to fight the Goliath in your life, the society that mocks and even ridicules you for being a husband and a father. Even if it's your own narrative rattling around in your head, you've got to fight that Goliath. You have to learn how to fight Goliaths of your own life by training one step at a time, one battle at a time. You've been told your life is not heroic, that you are not important, that you do not matter, and that's a lie. Raising your sons and daughters, sacrificing for your wife, staying planted and blossoming where you are the greatest acts of heroism you will ever achieve. Lions, tigers, bears, oh my. Train like David when he was a lowly shepherd, because one day those who you love and your very life may depend on it. Hey, you want to get a copy of my book? Give me a call.
Can I get one?
Yes, you can.
Thank you.
310-777-6777. Donald Carpenter with the Family Man's Faith and Finance Show. We'll be right back.
What's your email, by the way?
My email is donald@f3assetmanagement.com.
Asset management?
Asset.
Asset.
I thought
you said acid. I was going, what?
Donald at F3assetmanagement.
Assetmanagement.com.
310-777-6777.
All right. See, I'm trying to, help you out here. Can you tell?
You're killing me, brother.
It's my birthday gift to you.
Thank you, sir.
Preach the word, Donald Carpenter. Preach it.
you.
You're preaching very well today.
Thank
I
you.
like it.
NBC Talk Radio, 1050 AM.
Some combinations were just meant to go together. Chips and salsa, refrigerator and freezer, the internet, and those cute little cat videos. At State Farm, there's another combination meant to go together, home and auto, as in combining your home and auto insurance with one agent, which leads to another combination, saving dollars and cents. Your State Farm agent, the DeSalvo Insurance Agency, is here to help life go right. Combine home and auto and see how much you can save. For more information, call the DeSalvo Insurance Agency at 310-553-0241 in Beverly Hills, or find him on the web at BillDeSalvo.com. That's BILLDISALVO.com.
Hi, this is Donald Carpenter. You know, I've written a pretty interesting book. It's called The Family Man's Stock Market Volatility Survival Guide, How to Defend Your Family in Any Economy. To pick up a copy of The Family Man's Stock Market Volatility Survival Guide, go to Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, or the website FamilyManSMVSG.com.
We want to share a secret with you. There's a new and revolutionary way to bring the Earth's most effective organic plant extracts directly to your skin in a pure and healthy way. Lule Botanicals utilizes a breakthrough process called supercritical plant extraction. Your skin will radiate vitality and health like never before. No one wants to kiss an alligator face. Now they won't have to. Visit us on the web at www.lulebotanicals.com. That's LULEBOTANICALS.com. To get your 20% discount, use promo code LLB20.
Dr. Tatsuo Hirano asks, why suffer and ignore your pain and illness? Stop it before it gets out of control. Acupuncture is like fresh air, revitalizing your body and mind. Dr. Tatsuo Hirano, renowned acupuncturist to the stars and world-class performing artists, will help you get back to optimum health. To explore the healing arts of Oriental medicine, call Dr. Hirano at 818-244-2287. The first 20 callers will receive 10% off their first visit. Just say Donald Carpenter sent you.
Berndorf Law Offices, located in Los Angeles, is an employment, counseling, and litigation boutique law firm for California employers and executives. Employment laws change almost daily, and penalties for noncompliance are substantial. If you're an employer in Southern California and need assistance navigating the waters of employee relations, legal aspects of human resources management, or need defense against a lawsuit, our lawyers can help. Find us on the web at berndorflaw.com. That's BIRNDORFLAW.com. Or on Twitter at Law4CA Employers.
Donald Carpenter here. I'm the host of the Family Man's Faith and Finance Show Mondays at 3 o'clock. You know the number one reason married couples fight? Money. The number one lesson people wish they'd learned in school? Money. Listen, I've got over 20 years of experience in asset management and financial planning. Together, we can make the most of the money you make. We can take care of you and your family's finances. We can teach you how to build and strengthen a family financial fortress that can help protect you for years to come. We'll help you do it. Give me a call, 310-777-6777, and we'll help you manage these volatile markets and make better choices for your family's financial future. Call me, 310-777-6777, or shoot me an email, donald@f3assetmanagement.com. And don't forget to catch the Family Man's Faith and Finance Show Mondays at 3 o'clock on KCAA Radio. Donald Carpenter with the Family Man's Faith and Finance Show. So, yep, just doing a little, getting a little fired up about that. You know, here's the thing, is that you have got to be able to stand against this torrent of wrong in your life, and you're going to get ridiculed for it. People are going to laugh at you. They're going to say, what? You're not coming out with the boys tonight? You're going to stay home with your wife and kids? Pansy, sissy, weakling. But guess what? That's the most important thing that you can do. And you are going to be stronger for it. Your kids are going to love you for it. It's going to make you a more capable human being. You have to take, how do you purify gold? You put it in the crucible. You turn up the heat. It's got to take some ridicule. It's got to take some pain. And it turns into what? Something very pure and precious, just like you will when you start doing the right thing and manning up and sacrificing for your family. All right, so we're in the fourth segment. We're going to talk about markets, investing, financial planning. Anything I say about markets and investing is presented for informational purposes only. The information I give is not a recommendation to buy or sell any investment. Information I give is not legal advice. The information I give is not tax advice. Information I give is not accounting advice, and it's not investment advice. All investments have risk. All investments can go up and down in price. You need to consult your own financial professional before investing. All right, so what happened last week? Oh, my goodness. The NASDAQ went up 2.8%, and it's actually up 2.9% year to date, barely. And but its trajectory has changed. So it looks like it might be accelerating for a minute. But if we go globally, the German stock market was up 1.6% last week, but it's down 3.7% year to date and still angling down. The Chinese stock market was up only 0.9% last week, and it's down 4.5% year to date, and it's still decelerating. Now, why do I bring those things up? Because we were at one point over the last year and a half having a global acceleration in stock prices, a global synchronized growth period, and it's starting to show some wear and tear on the edges. So it's not as robust as it once was. The U.S. dollar was down 0.3% on the week. Oil spiked up pretty high, 8.6% on the week. But, you know, whenever you launch missiles, you're going to get the price of oil to go pretty high. Oil's up 11.8% year to date. It's at a new 2018 high. The commodities, measured by the CRB 19 commodity index, it was up 3.9% last week. So here's the thing. We're still in a new volatility regime. It's still very elevated in relation to how it was over the last year and a half. But here's the other thing is that we are at peak in GDP terms. So we are in the second longest expansion ever in the history of the United States economy at 7 consecutive quarters of growth. The only other time that's ever happened was in the period of 1991 to 2001. That's the only other time in our history that that's happened. So what happens when you reach peak GDP? Things start to turn around a little bit, and they're already starting to show some wear and tear, like I said, on the edges. So if things in Asia and the U.S. and in Europe are starting to slow down. But that's not what you're going to hear from mainstream media, because 5 days ago, I was just reading a report that industry analysts are telling their clients that the S&P 500 is going to gain 16% in prices. I'm like, industry analysts need to do a little more homework, because that is not what is happening on the margins in the current economy. Things are starting to slow down a little bit, especially if you look at the stock indexes around the world. And if there's a global synchronized recovery, then there's going to be a global synchronized slowdown, and that's kind of what we're having now. So if China slows down like they are, they're not going to buy our stuff. We're going to slow down too. So I'm not calling for the end of the world. I'm just saying it's not going to be as easy as it's been over the last year and a half. So today, let's see, we got retail sales, Empire State Manufacturing, business inventories, housing market, and Treasury International Capital. Tomorrow's housing starts, Red Book, industrial production. Wednesday, mortgage, MBA mortgage applications, EIA petroleum status report, and the Beige Book. Thursday, jobless claims, Philadelphia Fed business outlook survey, Bloomberg Consumer Comfort Index, leading indicators, EIA natural gas report, Fed balance sheet, money supply. Friday, it's only got the Baker Hughes rig count. You know, a lot of people don't understand money, even if they know how to make a good amount of money. And because it's complicated, there's a lot to it. You have to realize how much you need to work and save in order to live well when you get to the point where you don't want to work anymore. And sometimes I talk to clients about a 5% rule, because it's funny, because people will say to me all the time, well, I think I only need $1 million if I want to retire well. I said, okay, so let's just see, how much do you think you're making now? And they're like, tell me the amount they're making, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, whatever it is, $100,000. I mean, it depends on who the client is. And I say, okay, so you save $1 million, and let's say you get 5% interest on that, then that's $50,000 a year. Are you going to be able to live on $50,000 a year when you retire? Some people are kind of shocked because they're making six figures, and all of a sudden they got to cut that income in half if they only save $1 million. So it's complicated. And you need to think about money in several ways, in terms of security, in terms of protection, and in terms of strength. So like something happens to you, you get hit by a bus, then there goes the income that your family was looking forward to. So you got to have proper insurance portfolios of all kinds, not just life insurance, but of all kinds to protect your assets. And it's not just the future that you're working for, but you want to have enough saved up so you can have some options. I got really good friends who saved up a ton of money. They're not big spenders. And when we had the housing crisis, you know what they did? They went and bought a cabin in Mammoth, a nice cabin in Mammoth, because everybody was selling their cabins in Mammoth to get out of there because of the market crashed, right? And so now what do? Snowboard and ski every year with their buddies, all they want. So it gave them options. That's my point. So you have to save money for options. And so you've got to think about your legacy planning. What's going to happen to your heirs? What's going to happen to your children, your grandchildren? What do you want to happen for them? So it's hard, it's complicated, and it's necessary. And I can help you do it. You can get my book for free if you call me 310-777-6777. And I want you to know this: the 7 deadly sins will wreck your finances. Lust, gluttony, greed, sloth, wrath, envy, and pride will ruin your life and your finances. I want you to know this as well. Jesus was born into a family. It's no secret, and it was no accident. If being in a family was good enough for the God of the universe, I dare say it's good enough for me and you. Live a life of sacrifice. God has a plan for your life. Genesis 1:27 and 28. God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created them male and female. He created them. God blessed them, and God said to them, be fruitful, multiply, and fill the earth. Hey, let's listen to a little more of that Divine Mercy Chaplet. It's Donald Carpenter. Pray for me. I'm praying for you. See you next week.